Welcome back to this trip to the Galápagos Islands, a science trip of a lifetime. This is the 9th video in our Galápagos Islands series. Today, the Galaxy will take us to Elizabeth Bay for a panga ride to view wildlife. It will be a different kind of day, more relaxed since we will not be making any landings, wet or dry. Most of the day was spent resting, catching up on reading, and touring the Galaxy. From the top deck, we watched Cerro Azul, Sierra Negra, and Fernandina volcanoes come in and out of view. We also had a chance to film, highlighting some of our science students and Dr. Purdom. Before the Galaxy began moving, I went to the top deck, and to my surprise, a pirate ship was anchored right next to us. Upon closer inspection, it appears to be a restored pirate ship. Let's hope it's not a real pirate ship, and we're not followed. Mr. and Mrs. D spent the day researching and writing reports of our adventures. This was a quiet day, suitable for reading, studying, reflecting, and capturing our impressions of the hectic days spent on this scientific expedition. Yes, we are tired. Knowing that several full days lie ahead of us, resting seems like an appropriate use of this time. This was a good time to record video information for later editing into a documentary to share with others. Friendship memories are created for a lifetime as the Pacific Ocean races by. Our shoes are disinfected between visits to the islands so we don't spread diseases. Now, a quick tour of the Galaxy. From top to bottom.
Yes, sir. And boy, he has fed us well. Yes, sir. Wow. Huh? That's amazing.
Yeah, we are. In the most incredible surroundings. I don't think we'll have a conversation like this ever again, Michael. Behind us is the volcano, Cerro Azul, one of the most active volcanoes on Isabella. I'm kind of glad we're out here on the boat as opposed to standing right on the volcano where we might feel shuddering and we might see plumes coming out of it. It's an interesting volcano because that is the natural home of the flatback tortoises that we have seen in the restoration program.
Wow, that is fascinating.
It is. My question is, when were these amazing islands discovered? Do you know?
They were originally discovered by the Spanish, a man whose title was the Bishop of Panama in 1535. He was sailing and most likely came off course, sailing from Peru actually, in Lima, what is now Peru. First person to really create navigational maps of the islands were Ambrose Crawley and several other buccaneers. Around 1684, Ambrose Crawley was the first. And he named the islands after many of his friends, and some of those names actually still stick, like Floriana.
Is that right? So
yes.
Individual ones. Who called them the Galapagos? Do we know?
That was originally the Spanish. They had several names for the islands. And Galapagos, I believe, was the third name they came up with for the islands, and the one that obviously has stuck.
And doesn't that mean tortoise?
It does. It comes from their term for tortoise or saddle, actually.
Saddle. Because
From saddleback tortoise, as we were talking.
what I want to know is who were the first people to live on the islands?
Colonization started by a variety of nationalities around 1800. And one of the most important additions they had, which was tragic, was the introduced species they brought with them. Cats, dogs.
Oh, yes, because these became real pests and destroyed some of the natural wildlife, didn't
Yes.
they? And goats, wasn't goats something that was brought over as well?
That was actually brought over by the buccaneers before. Many of the buccaneers who were coming through here used goats as food population, and so they dropped goats off because they'd use these islands for.
Now, they have become such a tremendous nuisance that haven't the Parks Department made a concerted effort to try and eradicate the goats, especially from this beautiful island behind us, Isabella?
Yes, fortunately the National Parks Association and the Darwin Research Association have worked together to eradicate the most of the feral goats that were introduced to the island.
Oh, look, there's Jaime, our guide and amazing naturalist. I wonder if he can tell us something about this volcano behind us. Let's
Yes.
ask him. Jaime, what can you tell us about the volcano behind us?
Okay, we have Cerro Azul volcano here. It's really another beautiful active volcano that we have in Galapagos. So this one here, one of the last eruptions we have just in front of us, and it's only since 78. And this is really brand new land, so you see just black lava. There are no vegetation like in the rest of the
What kind of lava is that?
Actually, of course, it's Pahoehoe.
Pahoehoe.
It's one of the parasite cones. Just there are the eruption coming out of the big caldera. It's very unstable. This area here up there, so we can have an eruption anytime.
It's unstable, and we
Unstable.
could have an eruption anytime.
Anytime,
okay.
yeah.
Are we far enough out in the
Oh,
water?
that's okay. We're
We're
okay. Yeah.
Good.
And it would be
Just
nice.
checking.
It would be nice if we see an eruption around here. So it's always when I come to the west, I am feeling that I'm going to see an eruption like one
So
day.
you want to see one?
Yeah, I want to see it because that's makes
Okay.
you can see
So
where's
you want us to
safety.
pray for an eruption?
Where is safety over here?
Yes.
So it's just nice to see when the lava coming into the ocean,
It's
like that
beautiful.
eruption that happened, like years ago, So it's really very interesting. So
It's
we're going to get into the canal. Also, we have an option to see the 5 volcanoes of Isabella and also Fernandina. So it's really amazing, the new area of the Galapagos. Here probably we're lucky with some of the whales around, so they're going to take a look around.
That would be an excellent opportunity.
That would be great. I'd love to see them. Well, that was perfect timing,
Yes.
having some information from our naturalist.
Yes.
He always has more facts than we do about these things, even when we do the reading. So
He's an
that's always
excellent
He
guide.
really is. I've learned so much. I was just wondering, you were talking about the colonization and some of the first inhabitants. What kind of impact did their arrival have on the plants and animals? Do you know?
Many times they would harvest the animals, particularly the tortoises, they would use their fat for like lamp oil and such. And that was sadly very destructive on the tortoise population.
I know I had heard somewhere that they would actually take the tortoises and keep them on the ships for months and months because they can't survive without food or water. The tortoises can't.
For up to a year in some cases, many of the early sailors in the area would take them on board for fresh meat.
So they would have their fresh meat. And so that was very harmful to the populations, I'm sure.
It's estimated that 200,000 tortoises were taken over about a 30 to 40 year period.
That's a tremendous number of tortoises.
Yes.
But it is exciting to see the programs that have been developed now to try and bring back the populations. I was very excited to see all those little babies running around when we went to the research center.
That was very encouraging.
It was.
Yes.
And then I guess what I'm understanding is that when they're about 4 or 5 years old, they put them back into the wild. Is that what you understood?
Yes, when they are old enough to have a very good chance of survival and be able to maintain their lifestyle, they try to.
It would be a tragedy if they became extinct, so it was exciting to see
Yes.
the efforts that have been put forward to preserve that species.
To make up for some of the harmful impacts man has had on the islands before.
Yes, I mean, we do need to realize that man does come before beast when it's a survival issue, and it's hard for us to sit here and make a judgment call as to whether they could have taken less tortoises, but it's also man's job to be the caretaker of this world.
Yes, and we can hopefully make up and keep these populations as a wonderful testament to God's creation.
Yes. Now, I've been impressed with how much effort is being put forth to make sure tourists don't destroy these islands. What do you know about that?
Well, they're working very hard on these islands to minimize the negative effect that man is having. They're trying to keep open pathways for us to move where we will not be harming nesting areas for different animals.
Yes, I noticed that. We were always instructed to stay directly behind the guide and on the path.
Yes, we've been working hard to stay where they want us to so we don't mess up the beautiful environment they have here.
Do they limit the numbers coming to the island?
Yes, right now they limit it to about 16 or less people that can come on one tour group so that there won't be a massive inroad of people destroying and trampling the vegetation and all.
So each time a group comes onto one of the islands with a guide, it's no more than 16 people.
That is correct, yes.
Now, of course, there's two sides to that,
Yes.
because economically, the islands could use a financial boost, couldn't they?
Yes, they would be financially beneficial, at least for the short term, that they would have large tour groups, but that could also destroy the environment, and they really don't want to harm the environment, and that would also hurt their tourism in the long run anyway. So it's a difficult question to see exactly how many people they could allow on without damage.
And I'm not the head of state to try and keep that balance.
Me too. Me too.
Did you see the Frigatebirds playing up on the top deck the other day?
No, but I did hear a lot about them.
Yeah, it was amazing. There was a male over there on the railing, and then a female on the radar, and then a bunch of others came. And it was like they were all playing and like flying around the deck with their really strong, big wings.
Oh, speaking about wings, that reminds me. I've been really wanting to see the Flightless Cormorant.
Oh, really?
But they have really small wings, only about 20% of their whole body length.
Wow.
But they can't really use them to fly.
I guess
because they're so small in relation to their large body size.
That's amazing. So how do they eat?
Well, obviously they can't fly around and catch their food that way, but they do dive in the ocean, and they eat things like fish and squid and octopus.
That is so cool. So they actually get their own food.
Yes.
The frigate never gets its own food. It always is stealing the food of others. They call it the pirate bird.
Oh my gosh.
Because like some of them, they'll like fly around and they'll go over the ocean. They'll never touch the ocean themselves, but they'll get the food from like other animals. They also love the newly hatched green turtle eggs. And so they'll kind of patrol the beach, like the other day when we were there.
Oh, yes.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I remember that.
There was that frigate bird, like, walking around the beach, like it was its own beach, just, like, looking for the newly hatched turtle eggs to go eat. So, never gets its own food, you know.
Well, they don't always get them from the Flightless Cormorant, though. They usually have pre-digested food that they feed to their young, so that the frigate bird cannot steal the food while it's passing it to its young.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
But they can steal them from blue-footed boobies and other birds.
Yeah. So how do you tell the difference between your birds?
Between the male and female? Well, actually, the male is larger, and that's pretty much the only way that you can tell.
Wow. In the frigate birds is a huge difference. The males have a red throat pouch, or a gular, or
A gular?
gular.
Wait, how do you spell it?
It's like G-U-L-A-R.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not really sure, but we're just gonna go with gular for right now.
Yes.
So they have we're just gonna call it throat pouch. And so the males have that, but the females don't have one. And the males only have that during mating season. But the females are larger than the males.
Oh, wow. So what do you mean they only have their throat pouch during the mating season?
Oh, I don't mean it disappears. It's always there. But I
Okay.
just mean they inflate it during mating season. And it's actually the females, they like the bigger pouch. So it's like the bigger it is, the more attractive they are.
Okay.
So how many eggs does this flightless cormorant lay at a time?
Usually around 2 or 3, but only one of the chicks survives to maturity, usually.
Oh, wow.
And it takes about 35 days incubation period.
Oh, wow. Now, do both parents take care of it or just the mom?
Yes, both parents do take care of them, but if it's a particularly rich year, like in the food that they eat, fish and other marine wildlife, then the mother will actually go leave the male to take care of the chicks, and she'll go mate again and have another batch of eggs. And that's because they're opportunistic breeders. They'll breed anytime when they have enough food supply.
That is so funny.
So what about the frigatebirds?
Well, the frigatebirds only lay one at a time, and it's the same as the flightless cormorant. Both parents actually are helpful during the incubation period, but it takes around 42 days for them to hatch.
Oh, wow.
Well, unlike your flightless cormorant, the frigatebird actually stays with their young for up to 6 months. But I cannot wait to see your flightless cormorant because we've seen both types of frigatebirds, the magnificent and the great.
Yes, I hope to see them soon.
Oh, hey, Michael, come join us. You're just talking about everything we've seen on the trip.
And the 3 ecological zones.
Okay, yeah, I've been doing some research on the littoral zone and the main upkeep of that, the mangroves particularly. There are 4 different types of mangroves here on these islands. There's the button mangrove, the black mangrove, the red mangrove, and the white mangrove.
Oh, wow. How do you tell the differences between all those?
Well, the easiest one to tell is definitely the button mangrove. Especially at this time of year, you'll see these little round nut type things, which are actually how it got its name. They look like a button, a brown button. Then you also have the red mangrove, which is very noticeable by its root system. It has a very open root system that'll hold it in right on the edge of the water. The white mangrove, which has a oval-shaped leaf. And then you have, lastly, the black mangrove, which has more of a pointy-shaped leaf.
Hey, I just heard the call for lunch.
Oh, wow. Let's go eat. I'm starving.
Me too.
This ocean always gives me an appetite.
Enjoy the short music break before the afternoon teaching begins with Dr. Purdom.
So, you know, one of the creatures that we've seen a lot on almost every island that we visited have been the lava lizards. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
They are. And it's really easy to tell the female from the male because the female is, a lot smaller, right? Yeah, and she has that red, kind of reddish tint to her neck area, I think. So it's really easy to tell. And to me, I don't know about you, but to me, they kind of all look alike.
Definitely.
I haven't noticed a lot of differences, but you know, when they've done genetic studies, they've actually shown that there's one species that inhabits all the central and western islands, but the eastern islands all have their own individual species.
Oh, wow.
There's actually 7 species total, so it's kind of interesting. Even though to us, they don't look really different, they actually are genetically different, and they even show some different phenotypic traits. So,
what does phenotypic mean?
Okay, when we say phenotypic, we mean characteristics, kind of things we can see. Like in humans, you would say eye color, hair color would be certain phenotypic characteristics. So,
Okay.
So they do exhibit some of those, even though it may be more difficult for us to see. But in one place here in the island called Plaza Sur, what they've noticed is that there are, even though there's one population of lava lizards, there's actually they actually are diverging to a certain degree. They're becoming different, so to speak. And it really depends on the vegetation that's on the islands. In certain areas, it's very dense, and in other areas, it's very thin. And so they're noticing differences in things like sprint speed, okay?
Oh.
To get away from predators, for example. Because if they're in really dense vegetation, they're more hidden, obviously. But so they don't have to be as fast. But in the very thin vegetation areas, they have to be quicker because there's not as many places to hide. So one of the things that they're really trying to figure out is what is causing these differences. So is it sort of more of an environmental effect that is affecting them, possibly epigenetics? And if epigenetics, you know, that's a really new, like, hot field of research. And because not everything is in the genes, not everything is in our sequence, in our DNA. It may be how that DNA is expressed or affected directly by the environment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are some, we've seen a lot of instances of this, and we're just finding more and more of these. So they're wondering if it's something like that, where genetically they're very similar, but how those genes are expressed is very different depending on the environment, because these traits like sprint speed are known to be plastic. In other words, variable. Okay, they can change depending on the environment. But we also know these traits are heritable, and they do have some genetic, impact as well. So it may be that there's also some differences, like natural selection acting on selecting for certain genes or against certain genes. Now it's important to remember, and I've brought this up before, but natural selection doesn't see genes, it sees an individual, right? It only sees what's on the outside,
right,
so to speak, phenotypic, we said phenotypic characteristics. So, but genes are obviously responsible for those things. So it's either going to be selecting for or against the individual or population as a whole. So once again, we're seeing these amazing examples of how these populations are diverging based on their environment here in the Galápagos Islands.
So I've learned a lot about the flightless cormorant through my own studies, but I really wasn't able to find a lot from a genetic standpoint.
Well, there is a little bit known about the genetics of the flightless cormorant, and one of the things that's interesting, as you probably know, it has the most limited geographical distribution of any seabird. It only exists on 2 adjacent islands here in the Galápagos, and part of the reason for the fact that it's so isolated is obviously because it can't fly. It can swim, but it can't fly. And they are showing, though, even within those 2 populations on the adjacent islands, that there are genetic differences between those 2 populations. So they're probably undergoing a form of allopatric speciation.
What is allopatric speciation?
Well, allopatric speciation occurs, and most commonly you think of it associated with a geographical barrier, like a mountain or a volcano or something like that, where they can't get access to one another to mate. Now, in the case of the cormorant, the flightless cormorant, it's not occurring because of any actual geographical barrier like a mountain, but rather because they just simply can't fly from island to island to mate with one another.
So about the flightlessness, is it being selected for by the environment, or is it not being selected against?
Well, that's a really good question, and they obviously will have to do more studies to really determine what is the case. And is it that the environment, because they have a lot of food available in the ocean, so obviously it could be selected for, so that as you probably found in your studies, the way that the certain characteristics are expressed, it makes them good for swimming in the water and being able to get food from that. So is it being selected for, or is it that a while several thousand years ago, when these when these birds came to the islands, a mutation occurred, or several mutations occurred, or something happened where they weren't able to, they lost the ability to fly. Well, that was okay because there was plenty of food in the water and they didn't need to fly, so it just wasn't selected against, and it became the dominant, it became the phenotype basically that was expressed by all of the cormorants there. Another really good example of that is the blind cave fish. They have the same question with those. I mean, they don't have eyes, but they live in a cave, so they don't need eyes. So is it being selected for? Because sometimes not being able to see also gives them a better ability to detect their environment without sight, or is it just not being selected against because they don't need eyes to see in a cave? So that's really a question that we have to look at a little bit more in depth with the cormorants to determine.
Seen so many finches on all of the islands. Do you have anything interesting about them?
Well, Darwin's finches are probably one of the most studied organisms on all of the Galápagos Islands, and there are a lot of different species of them, and they're a great example of adaptive radiation.
Now, what is adaptive radiation?
Well, adaptive radiation occurs when an organism goes to different areas that are very different environmentally speaking or ecologically speaking, and they basically adapt and become specialized for that particular environment. Oh. So you see that. I mean, we know there are a lot of different environments represented here on the islands, not only between islands, but also within the island. And so you get a lot of different species like the cactus finch versus the ground finch versus the tree finch versus the warbler finch. I mean, you you get a lot of, and even with those, within those you have several different species. So there's a lot of those things that are developing here on the island. But one of the interesting studies that has been done is by Peter and Rosemary Grant, and they have done a lot of studies on Daphne, on Isla Daphne, of two types of finches: the cactus finch, scandens is the species name, and then fortis, which is the medium ground finch. Now they are very similar when it comes to plumage, courtship, and behavior, and even their nests, but they differ in their bill shape, as I showed you a picture, and you could see the fortis is kind of big and bulky, whereas the scandens is much more pointed, so to speak. And so, and they differ also in song. Now, they mate according to song, so it doesn't matter that they look different. Morphology isn't a factor for them. They're mating according to song. Now, what's interesting is what we've noticed that over the years, especially with the different El Nino events and droughts and different things like that that occur on this particular island, the Isla Daphne, that they're changing overall. Both species are changing their bill shape and their body size. They're sort of moving in a particular direction. Which is interesting because a lot of times you see oscillations, changes that kind of go up and down. But over time, there's been enough of these events that it's sort of moving them in a particular direction. And what they've noticed is that during El Nino years, or those years surrounding that fortis and scandens will mate with each other. Now, that's unusual because, again, like I said, it's according to song, so they normally don't. What happens is occasionally either fortis or scandens will be misimprinted. See, they learn the song from their fathers.
Okay.
And so if they hear a different song from the other species, they learn the wrong song, so to speak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
for their species. So they get misimprinted. So then what they do is they will mate with each other because they think it's the same species, but it's really not, and they form hybrids. Now, the hybrids of these, they always kind of worried, well, are the hybrids going to be really as vigorous or as good as just the pure species? Because a lot of times they aren't. But in this case, what they found, especially in the El Nino years, is they're more vigorous. They're better than just the pure species. So this is a way that these organisms, even through the mistakes, so to speak, that God has actually enabled them to utilize this to their advantage during these El Nino years, to be able to produce these hybrids that are more vigorous and keep the species, going, so to speak, in that, because the hybrids won't mate with each other. They'll just mate back to their whatever their song is, whatever song they learn, they'll mate according to that. So to keep the species, preserve the species, and that's what we see a lot of God's handiwork is He wants to preserve the kinds and preserve even the individual species of animals. We see that on some of these islands. So it's an amazing fingerprint there of creation.
After lunch, I took a moment on the top deck to orient myself in the Pacific. My camera's GPS adds coordinates to the video metadata. We had the opportunity to visit the Galaxy Bridge and observe the captain as he prepared to anchor at our Panga excursion point. In the late afternoon, we navigated canals formed by lava flows that shaped the Isabella Island. Our guide and Panga operators piloted carefully to avoid the submerged jagged lava. The narrow canals required precise maneuvering to prevent disaster.
It is Elizabeth Bay. It's a really neat spot around here. We have behind us mangroves, a lot of lava, really basalt around here. But actually around here we have a lot of life, like those penguins around this place. So we have penguins, and look at that. So just they finished the hunting, and we saw outside some of the flightless cormorants. Sometimes they come inside here also with a few sea lions, but it's a really perfect place for the green turtles. You know, the green turtles, when they are mating, they cannot be in the deep areas. So this is why they come here to this place to mate. Right now they are taking a bath, so it's like cleaning the feathers and trying to dry the feathers. You know, this is what they're doing. Yeah, actually that's the end of the hunting, actually. They don't, have a place here. They don't sleep in this area, just they come in here, they swim, but they have a lot of fish also in the little canal. So this is why they come here to hunting a little bit, but they normally, it's places around the outside, around the open areas, you know, with the rocks, and outside of this a little bit. As you see, the tide is coming down now. So we're almost full tide now. There's about 2 meters difference between a high tide and low tide. Around here, around the west, there's a little bit more. So that's normally the tide at 2 meters is around the other side, so 6 feet. But around here, it's a little bit more. This is west part of Isabella. It's unique, you know. We have one kind of finch, which is a mangrove finch, and there's just few of them in the Galapagos. No, here it's not. We have a colony or a group of them around Black Beach, a little bit north from here, but only a few of them. So what they do now, they try to. What they did was took some few adults and put in another place with mangroves, which is north of here, Urbina Bay, and they put over there in that place to reproduce them. It was really very good. Just I saw this week around the Darwin Center that they found in those 2 places about 8 babies. So it was really very good, and it's still over there. So actually, some of them just went back to Black Beach, you know, but some of them are still there. So which is really very good. So it's no more than 150 of them. You know, there's no more 150 animals. So this is really very reducing, and it's reducing only to this beach, you know, Black Beach over there, and then the mangrove.
Yes, it's a penguin.
Penguin sound here.
Are we getting that sound?
Apaguémosle ahorita. Chino. Apágale ahorita para escuchar el sonido del pingüino. Apaga el motor. Gracias. Jump up at the ship and take someone with you.
Is that a sea lion or a turtle?
Sea lion
Sea
fishing,
lion eating the fish down here.
eating fish. Okay.
They destroy the fish down there. Yeah. Look at that. See that?
Got a fish.
Yeah. You got a fish, and actually normally it's playing with that first, and then it's gonna eat. Yeah, look at that. It's gonna take the mouth out, yeah, and that's how they destroy the fish, and then it's going to eat later on.
Right, There goes the fish.
Yeah.
Dinner.
Look at that.
He's gonna eat that whole thing.
All thin, yeah. That was it, yeah. It's just the tail is out. You see that? Look at that. It's still playing it. Still playing it.
Yeah, they can see it. I think. Yeah, they can.
Look at that. Look at that. Still playing with the fish now. Look at that. Look at that. You see that?
The frigate came down for it.
Frigatebirds, you know, they're pirates of the air, so they try to steal the food. It's normally, yeah, they very quickly come down.
We make
All right, there are 2 sea lions now. 2 sea lions. Really gonna fight for the food. Well, not fight, but actually they're playing with that. Yeah, look at that. So the big one is taking it.
You're facing the wrong way, bird. It's right there.
Who's got the fish?
So we have big seahorses around here. Sometimes they're a little deeper, you know, we find, but sometimes we can find around this place also because it's kind of cold water and they love to be around here. It was possible to see this part of the island, but actually we didn't have too much time, you know, to do this, you know. But actually now it's for sure that the south part, it's cloudy because the clouds arrive just around the south, bringing water, you know. Look at this, this is the other kind of turtle that we have, Golfina. Look at this, how beautiful it is. You see that? Ahora mira para acá, aquí hay un canal, aquí hay un canal.